Lincoln County Health and Human Services, mental health, first aid presentation.
So my name is Sam Schaefer. I am from Lincoln County Health and Human Services from Public Health, and I'm actually one of 2 individuals here in Lincoln County that are trained in mental health first aid, which is what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. Unfortunately, Jennifer Versteep, who is the Depoe facilitator, is unavailable to be here. First off, I'd like to thank you guys for inviting me to talk on this topic. It's fairly new in Lincoln County, although it's not new in Oregon. This program actually originated in Australia in 2001. 2 mental health professionals found that they were coming up against a lot of stigma for mental health, as well as a lot of fear, because a lot of people were just uneducated on the topic, or there was a lot of misinformation, and we find that still today, of course. So they created this curriculum, which then came over to the United States in about 2008, and it has since taken over. There are about 400,000 people in the United States that are trained on mental health first aid, and we're hoping to continue to grow those numbers. So what is mental health first aid? As you'll see in your brochure, mental health first aid is help offered to a person developing a mental health problem or experiencing a mental health crisis. The first aid is given until appropriate treatment and support are received or until the crisis is resolved, which is very similar to CPR. You know, you're not taught how to do heart surgery with CPR. You're taught to really assess their airway, their breathing, their circulation, and of course wait for medical attention to get there. And mental health first aid is very much the same way. So why we teach this course is because we know that mental health illness is very common. We know that 1 in 5 adults and about 1 in 4 youth are experiencing mental health illness at any given time, which is pretty high. And it's also very miscommunicated. There's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of stigma, a lot of fear, and not very many resources, unfortunately. So through mental health first aid, we hope to, of course, not increase the professional help, but increase those who can help get individuals to professional help. The way we actually do this is we have an 8-hour course, either a youth curriculum, which is actually dedicated to individuals working with youth, not youth themselves, and then also an adult course. So what you learn in the course are different risk factors for mental illness, as well as signs and symptoms of an individual starting to develop a mental illness or go into mental health crisis. The way we do this is an 8-hour course. We can teach it either for the 8 hours in one day, or we can split it up into 2. And we teach it very much like a classroom style course. We have activities so individuals can learn how to really participate with an individual in different scenarios. And the way we do this actually is through a 5-step action plan, which I believe is in your brochure. If not, I can pass this around as well. So very similar to CPR, there is an acronym that we use, and this one is ALGE, a 5-step action plan. And the A is assess for risk of suicide or harm, and that's assessing the individual. So we're assessing, of course, for suicide. We want to find that out immediately so that we can help them. And we're also assessing them for risk of harm in general, as well as risk of harm for ourselves as mental health first aiders. That is one thing we really like to touch on, is if the situation isn't safe for you, sometimes it's best, of course, to get an individual who may be better equipped for that situation. The second step is listen non-judgmentally. The third is give reassurance and information. And what we're talking about here is not resources. We're talking more along the lines of if someone's maybe new to the community and they're suffering from depression because they're feeling isolated, or they just don't feel like they're fitting in yet. It's giving that reassurance of, you're new and it can be difficult. What can I do to help you? As in, not necessarily professional resources, but what are your interests? What can I link you up with as far as maybe groups with the same interests or hobbies, that kind of thing. And then the next step is encourage appropriate professional help, which again is where we're looking for those professionals like psychiatrists, maybe it's a school counselor. It's just the appropriate help. And we never tell our participants that they need to be the experts on what the local resources are. We actually give them a resource list for all of the resources here in Lincoln County, as well as telling them to engage that individual and helping them find professional help with them. So saying, you're experiencing this, this, and this, can we maybe work together to find what's most appropriate for you? And then the fifth step of this action plan is actually encourage self-help and other support strategies, which for most people actually is more efficient than professional help. So these are things like self-help books, or even just things that they know will calm them down, such as going hiking in the woods, or reading a book, that sort of thing. Just helping them identify the things that might calm the situation, or, basically just kind of ease the tension for this individual. And other support strategies, we're talking about possibly friends, talking to family, just finding those support individuals other than professionals out there. So through this 5-step action plan, which I can pass around here, we teach participants how to really identify the mental health illness, crisis, or challenge that an individual might be facing through these 5 steps. And it's not a linear program. It's, listening through the entire 5-step process is probably a good idea, where it looks like it's only step 2. So we really go through this with participants and help them to feel comfortable with those 5 steps. And again, it's an 8-hour course. We have lots of activities to help them go through this action plan. And it's really to help them feel comfortable in addressing mental health illness, or even just noticing when there's an abrupt change in an individual, so that they can either help them get professional help or help them through that crisis. So that's a little bit about the program. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Sam. You mentioned the folks that are trained on CPR. Typically, we fall into the category of getting the mental health first aid as well.
Certainly, certainly. The audience for mental health first aid can really be anyone. It can be public safety officers, it could be first responders, it could be teachers, it can be pretty much anyone. We're really opening this to the community because we think that's really where it's most needed. That's where a lot of the misinformation stems from. People just not being educated on it, or just going off of the media, which of course highlights the most extreme cases.
So that leads me to, I'm sorry, I just had to follow up. Leads me to the question for Curry. Who do we have trained for CPR on our city staff?
I think the entire
field
is
crew
trained, yes.
It was first aid and CPR.
Okay, it would be my thought, open for discussion, of course, is to think in the context of adding this to our toolkit, because Brady, you have talked to me on occasion about how we're interacting with the community a lot here, and there are times when we bump into situations that might just be in this category. So I would just like to suggest that we put it on the agenda and talk about who we might want to train for this, and consider the priority.
Yeah.
That would be my motion. If I made a motion, that's what it would be.
Yeah, one of the employees that are involved with the public the most, and it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and we see a lot of frontline staff getting trained on these sorts of things. People who are dealing with the public constantly, whether it's in a medical profession or not. The people who are in the front lines, where they see this often, and a lot of times they're not trained on mental health illness, or even just have those coping skills to talk to an individual and be sensitive of their situation.
Sam, once a person, let's say just an average citizen, regular citizen, not part of the staff, excuse me, gets trained, then is there some kind of organizational list? Do you call out to these people as volunteers to go meet with someone, or is it just a case of you run into someone on the street and you realize they need some help?
So it's the latter. It's once you get trained, you really just have the tools to interact with individuals. And again, you don't have to to interact with every single individual that you might think is experiencing a mental health challenge or disorder. But it does give you the tools to feel comfortable in those situations, which is why we're really pushing to have as many community members and professionals get trained as possible, because it really is a great tool set to have. You know, we're not teaching people to diagnose or become treatment specialists by any means. Matter of fact, we tell them that's exactly things you should not be doing. But just having the skills to be sensitive in those situations and get a little bit more information about mental health, even if you don't end up feeling comfortable to address it.
Fair.
Yeah.
Is there a cost for this?
No,
Okay,
we're offering it for free through the county.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Is there like a crisis helpline?
There is, here in Lincoln County, there's a 24-hour crisis line. It's not on that brochure, but I can
Okay.
get it to you. And actually, I can get the entire council our list of resources for mental health first aid, which includes not only our local ones here in Lincoln County, but also our national ones.
And no doubt you give that out once someone completes training anyway, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Steve?
If I may, Mayor, I'd like to, if this is not the right time, let me know, but I'd like to make a motion that we, the City of Depoe Council adopt a goal to have mental health first aid training for selected staff or others in our town, and consider it a policy for the future.
Could you hold that thought for just a
I think it needs more discussion.
Well, hold on, someone needs to second that
Oh.
motion.
I'll
Then we
second
can- Okay, now we can discuss.
Okay, thank you. Brady, in our employment package, so we have a first aid requirement, that we could include this mental health thing in as well for training our employees in the field.
Yeah, I believe it's written that we should have our CPR and first aid, and it goes in with the flaggers, certifications and other certs, but, yeah, I mean, it could be adopted into the employee handbook, yeah. Maybe just for certain employees, maybe that are in
Oh.
direct contact,
Well, no, you want to say something?
No, I think it needs more discussion.
Well, let's
because some of our employees don't really even go outside of like the wastewater plant, maybe just to travel to the pump station or something, but some of our employees are directly, involved with the public throughout the day, doing maintenance and stuff out on the highway and whatnot.
Jimmy, go ahead.
Does the city have the staff is there a safety committee?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
I personally think, as a former president of safety committee in Salem,
Sure.
at a business, I would think that like the safety committee president and maybe a few of the members of the committee, anybody that, for instance, the emergency trailer that we have, anybody that would be, manning that or deploying that in case of an emergency, because I could see that this would tie in also with rescue and recovery efforts if there was a natural disaster like a tsunami or something of that nature as well.
Okay,
That would be my recommendation.
that's why I interrupted Steve. I was going to see if he could make that motion to include training of our field staff along with the first aid. And so,
Who is our liaison officer? Robert, are you the liaison for
No.
safety right now? Who is Brady?
Me?
Well, I'm just wondering, I'm sorry, I gotta do
That's
something.
okay.
I was just wondering if this isn't something that maybe the safety committee should bring up and make the recommendations for whether we do this or not with the staff and whomever,
Okay.
because they're safety guys.
Yeah, right. I mean, I have a few concerns. I mean, the difference between CPR and mental health is totally different.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
And an 8-hour training for myself, I am not going to feel comfortable trying to talk down somebody that's having a mentally ill crisis. I mean,
Right.
that's just my own personal opinion.
And some people do walk away from the class thinking, that I will never, ever come up against someone like that because I won't feel comfortable.
Right.
And, in those instances, what we tell those participants typically is, that's fine. If you don't feel comfortable.
Well, it's not a matter of comfortable, it's a matter of like, in 8 hours, I don't think I would have the
Right, to
training
have the skills.
or the ability
Right.
to be able to do that. It's not something that I think I would probably be comfortable with, I guess.
Right, and some people don't. But what we do say is, it's not always an individual in crisis that you're coming up against. A lot of times, it's just an individual that maybe you notice there's some changes. So it doesn't always have to be a stranger either.
Right,
It can be
exactly, I
someone-
understand.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, is that motion that, we can just stand then?
Yeah.
What exactly is the motion?
Yeah,
Second?
I go to hear it,
I'd like to move that we consider adopting mental health first aid as part of the City of Depot Bay safety policy. It may require more discussions and planning. It's a motion to take some action really on the subject of mental health first aid. Perry, did I get that right?
Yes, you changed a couple of words, but.
But you get what I'm saying?
I would ask the reporter just to read it back, so we have.
Okay.
The most recent, well, the primary difference between the first one, that the City of Depot Bay City Council adopt a goal, and what you just said was to adopt a safety policy, workforce safety policy. The rest of it is to have mental health first aid training for staff and originally you said others in the community, and now you're talking about a safety policy, so.
That's right.
But to get the ball rolling, it
Yeah.
sounds like.
That's the motion, thank you.
So do we need a second on this?
It's been seconded.
I'll take the, I'll second that motion as amended.
Yes.
So are we kind of all in agreement that that will automatically include taking this as a recommendation to the safety committee to review and see if they agree and if they have any other input or no?
I just want to say that Kathy is on the safety committee, Brady's on the safety committee. Who else, Brady?
Pogo.
I really think we should adopt the goal, do what you say, but then kick it to them and have them decide who's the most appropriate people to be trained at the city level.
That sounds about right to me.
Sound okay?
Council
ahead,
President.
Joe.
Yes, sir.
Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, we always are looking for people in the public. I would venture to guess that the staff of Depot Bay, if a crisis happens, most likely it probably will be somebody on the staff itself. So, keeping that in mind, I mean, am I right, Sam? Because they're the people that they see most during the day.
It really depends. So
Did
again,
Jerome
for
just call
mental
the
first
staff
aid, we
nuts?
go, it can go all the way to crisis, but we're also talking about addressing those individuals who are
So,
on their way.
I would just recommend a generous training program to include as many people in the city staff as possible. That's it.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it should be open to anybody who has an interest in doing it.
Even me, I might be interested.
Yeah.
Well, and it is, I mean, it's free and any of us can.
Right.
I'm.
As a public or private citizen, I'm assuming.
That's correct.
All right, any more discussion? Kathy?
I think it should be, like she said, it should be a voluntary thing. I don't think it should be adopted into the city, like hiring thing personally, but
You don't see it going into the employee handbook?
Handbook. no.
That is a point. I would defer to the city staff, again, to come
Right.
back to us, or the
Safety
safety committee,
committee,
would come back and tell us.
make a recommendation, just like we do a lot of things. I like that process here in our community, to be able to go through that process and then come back and make a recommendation.
Yeah,
Okay.
in a whole.
So,
because, yeah.
We're on iteration 3, so, Brady, do we need to amend that, or what does it say, what does it say exactly? I'm sorry. I know, I understand this is difficult for you.
Sorry.
So it's evolved into, that the city council of the city of Depot Bay, well, I don't know if we still wanna say adopt a safety policy or change it to refer the matter to the safety committee for a recommendation to look at a policy.
I think that was the latest version.
I think that's how it evolved through discussion. I was hoping that this discussion would happen. It should evolve that way, yes.
Would you take a stab at?
Oh, I'll take a
Ken,
second.
first of all, would some,
Okay.
how about first you redo it, and but to do that, the person who seconded it has to say that's okay. Who seconded this motion? Jerome. Jerome, is that
I
right?
would be friendly to, another iteration of the motion to, if I'm getting it right, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth to, are we gonna make it a voluntary program or a required program?
The safety committee's gonna,
Right.
Safety committee,
We're gonna have a
so
safety
we're gonna
committee tell
refer
us
it,
that.
and then it's gonna come back to
Yeah.
us?
Yes.
Okay, I'm down with that.
Okay.
yeah,
So
okay.
we'll take it again.
Okay.
Number 4.
I'd like to make a motion that we refer mental health first aid training to our safety committee to evaluate, consider, and come back to the city council with a recommendation on how we proceed, potentially with a policy.
That's
Perfect.
perfect.
I'll second that.
It's already said, I second.
Okay.
You guys wanna throw on the gloves?
No, no, Mitt Romney did that this week.
Pre-seconded.
All right, if there's no more discussion, call please.
On that one, okay. Olson,
Yes.
Macker,
Yes?
Gambino,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes, aye.
Fisher Brown,
Yes.
Sparks,
Aye.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I would like to say to you that this is very, very significant to have a community, a rural community, put this item on the agenda in the first place like we did
Definitely.
the first of the year, and to actually take some action on it and be here today. So I hope you can appreciate that we are thankful that you're here and we're going to proceed.
Certainly, and I, again, appreciate being asked to come and talk about this program. It's fairly new in Licking County, and we're very excited to introduce it.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll set a precedent.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
We're leading.
Get a plug.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.